Today on Zoo Clues, we'll ride the river to discover the animals that make waterways their homes. From enormous hippos to ferocious crocodiles to the world's largest rodents. We'll also find out what sends river fish into a feeding frenzy and why lions at the riverside may eventually learn to swim. Answers to these questions and more coming up now on Zoo Clues. The adventure starts here and leads us into the wild and everywhere else animals live. We'll ask questions and discover the answers. Let the investigation begin. This is Zoo Clues. Let's start our adventure in South America and meet the largest rodent in the world, the capybara. This huge rodent is as big as a large dog, but related to rats and mice. And they're excellent swimmers, capable of holding their breath up to 5 minutes. But the capybara uses the water for a lot more than just swimming. In fact, what doesn't the capybara do in the water? Mate, give birth, sleep, or avoid predators? Need a clue? Adult capybaras can hold their breath for a long time, but their babies can't. The answer is give birth. The capybara gives birth on land. But yes, it mates in the water, sneaks into the water to avoid some predators like the jaguar, and believe it or not, can sleep in the water by keeping the tip of its nose up so it can breathe. The capybara isn't the only furry mammal, let alone rodent, to make its home near the river. Dozens of rodent species live near rivers, including beavers, muskrats, and otters? Wait a second. True or false? The river otter is a rodent. How about some visual clues? Here's a river otter next to a series of other rodents. If animals were grouped together by looks alone, you might say the otter is a rodent. But it's not. It's a weasel. So the answer is false. And it's more adapted to river life than any rodent. River otters have super sensitive whiskers that help them locate prey and navigate in muddy water. Their webbed feet and long, muscular tails are used for steering and propulsion. Their fur is oily and repels water. And they can close their noses and ears to shut the water out. An important skill when hunting fish, frogs, large insects, and even small mammals, and whatever else happens to float down the river. River otters aren't the only meat eaters at the river. Grizzly bears, more widely known as brown bears, live to fish. They can spear a salmon with their huge claws or snag one in their mouths when it leaps out of the rushing river. If they could, they might eat salmon all the time. But the fish only swim upstream for part of the year. So brown bears also have to look for food elsewhere, which leads to our question. True or false? Brown bears only eat meat. Need a clue? Many people eat meat, but we don't have to. The answer is false. Just like us and hundreds of other mammals, brown bears eat meat and vegetables. In fact, meat only makes up about 10% of their diet. Most of what they eat comes from plants. They use their sharp claws to dig up roots or even delicately pick berries. They also eat mushrooms, acorns, and pine cones. What about honey? The truth is, they love it. But they're just as likely to gobble up the entire beehive, bees, larvae, and all. And salmon isn't their only source of meat. They also eat grubs, insects, and even small mammals like rabbits. They're not picky at all. In fact, where bears live close to people, trash dumps post signs that say, "Watch for bears." Yes, bears will happily dine on your garbage. Getting back to the river, bears aren't the only animals who know how to fish. We just have to look at some of our nearest relatives to discover that fishing runs in the family. Which great ape goes fishing? The orangutan, the chimpanzee, or the gorilla? Here's a clue. Gorillas are vegetarians. And although chimpanzees are known for fishing termites out of tree trunks, they aren't very good at fishing for fish. Orangutans, on the other hand, use some pretty neat tricks to scare up fish, including spearfishing. They've also speared fish right out of fishermen's nets. Smart apes. And orangutans use tools for more than just fishing. They fashion tree branches into back scratchers, fly swatters, and even the occasional umbrella. Orangutans can be found on the islands of Borneo and Sumatra, not in Africa like gorillas and chimps. And while you might think of Africa as being full of dry deserts and grasslands, there are plenty of waterways to keep this animal happy. The hippo is usually found wallowing in a river, and it's no wonder. With that much body weight to support, walking in water helps keep a hippo on its feet. Seeing as they spend most of their time in the water, most of their activities occur there too. But why do hippos leave the water? To eat? To sleep? To mate? Or to give birth? If you need a clue, consider the fact that hippos are grazers, like antelope and cattle. Surprisingly, hippos use the river for just about everything except eating. They leave the water every evening to find grasslands where they graze for half the night. And while you might expect hippos to be clumsy on land, watch out! They can outrun a man with a top speed of over 20 miles per hour. They're slower in the water with a top speed of 5 miles per hour while swimming. But that doesn't mean they're less dangerous. Hippos are quite aggressive. Males fight each other to maintain a territory, but they can show aggression to other animals as well, particularly humans. Now it's time for our first mystery animal. It lives in rivers and in the ocean. It's a vegetarian, grazing on underwater plants. And it goes by the nickname sea cow. Stay tuned, the answer coming up when we return to Zoo Clues. We're back. Did you guess which marine mammal we're looking at? This is the manatee. The name sea cow refers to its calm nature and the fact that it eats grass. Seagrass. Manatees live in rivers and coastal regions off the Caribbean and South America. Manatees are one of the few marine mammals that can live in both salt and freshwater. And here's a bit of trivia. The manatee is a member of the order Sirenia. The name comes from siren because a popular legend says that sailors used to mistake manatees for mermaids. Seems like a bit of a stretch. Okay, let's move from aquatic mammals to aquatic reptiles, specifically the yellow-spotted Amazon river turtle. How does this turtle hide from predators? It pulls its head into its shell, or it tucks its head along the edge of its shell. Your clue comes from the type of turtle it is, a side-necked turtle. Rather than pulling its neck and head straight into its shell like the Mexican box turtle does, a side-necked turtle tucks its head and neck sideways along the edge of its shell. This gives it the appearance of looking at you skeptically. The turtle equivalent of a raised eyebrow. Almost a third of the turtle species have this distinct characteristic. The yellow-spotted Amazon river turtle, with its bright yellow spots on its head, is one of the largest turtles in South America. They can grow to be about 1.5 feet long and nearly 18 pounds, and they live for about 70 years. Now, here's another side-necked turtle found in the Amazon, the mata-mata. Why is it camouflaged to look like fallen leaves? To hide from predators, or to hide from prey? Let's clue you into its diet. The mata-mata is a carnivore that eats fish. So the answer, to hide from its prey. The mata-mata may eat fish, but it's not exactly an active hunter. Instead, these turtles stand still in shallow water, just waiting for its food to swim by. And because the mata-mata looks more like decomposing plant material than a hungry predator, unsuspecting fish will swim right up. The mata-mata opens its mouth, sucks in the fish like a vacuum cleaner, and swallows it whole. Using camouflage is a great strategy for finding food, but it's probably helpful in avoiding becoming food too. You can never be too careful. What can possibly eat a turtle, you might ask? Well, one of these. Yeah, crocodiles definitely like fish, but this guy might take a turtle for dessert. And while we call this animal a crocodile, the term crocodilian refers to a larger group of similar reptiles that include crocs, alligators, caimans, and gharials. But these two, the croc and gator, look a lot alike, so… How can you tell the difference between a croc and a gator? Their color, the water they live in, or their jaw shape? Need a clue? It helps to view them from above. Of course, you probably don't want to look too closely. The best way to tell them apart is to look at their jaws. Alligators have a U-shaped head that's wider and shorter than a crocodile's V-shaped one. See? The alligator's upper jaw is wider than its lower jaw, but the croc's upper and lower jaws are about the same width, allowing the croc's lower teeth to jut out to the side even when its mouth is closed. You've probably heard of the Nile crocodile, but what species of crocodilian lives in the Amazon River? The alligator, the caiman, the crocodile, or the gharial? Need a clue? You can rule out alligators. They only live in North America and China. You can also rule out gharials, which are native to India and islands in the Pacific. But crocodiles are found in South America, in addition to Africa and Asia. But they don't live in the Amazon. That river is home to the caiman. Caimans are smaller than your typical swamp gator. In fact, in the Amazon, you can even find the dwarf caiman, which is less than 5 feet in length. But you'll also find the spectacled caiman, the most common crocodilian anywhere. Spectacled caimans are able to survive in both fresh and salt water, just like the manatee, giving them an advantage when it comes to exploiting different habitats. We've seen turtles and crocodiles, but are there any other river reptiles? There certainly are. What river snake preys on caimans and capybaras? The water cobra, the northern water snake, or the anaconda? Need a clue? This snake could hug you to death. It's the anaconda. These non-venomous boa constrictors literally squeeze the life out of their prey. Anacondas are very large and quite cumbersome on land, but in water, they're fast. They can often be seen floating on the surface, just their nose sticking out of the water. If a potential prey animal swims by, the anaconda grabs it in its jaws, coils around it, and squeezes until the animal suffocates. Sticking to snakes, which snake lives in muskrat and beaver lodges? The water cobra or the northern water snake? Here's a clue. Water cobras live in Africa. And since there are no muskrats and beavers in Africa, you can rule out the water cobra. The unwelcome guest in the homes of muskrats and beavers is the non-venomous northern water snake. Not the most threatening guest, but still, beavers and muskrats would rather have their homes to themselves. Now let's take a look at our next mystery animal. This river dweller can be found in lakes and streams throughout North America. It's got 2 legs, a long flat tail, and no front teeth. You're not gonna guess this one on clues alone, so we'll just show you the whole animal. What is that? The answer coming up when we return to Zoo Clues. We're back. Did you guess our mystery animal? It's the western lesser siren, sometimes called the mud eel or the 2-legged eel. And it's a salamander. Salamanders are amphibians, like frogs, that breathe air but can also take in oxygen through their skin. This means that their skin needs to stay wet, which is why amphibians are found in and around rivers. Sirens can be quite small, but other salamanders are large, like this one. Which salamander is sometimes called a snot otter, mud dog, or Allegheny alligator? The mud puppy or the hellbender? You might need some divine intervention to get a clue here. The mud dog is also known as the hellbender. The hellbender is a 30-inch long North American salamander. The mud puppy is almost as big, but one way to tell them apart is that adult hellbenders don't have gills, while mud puppies do. Hellbenders live under rocks in fast-moving rivers across the eastern United States. Speaking of big river dwellers, get a load of the arapaima, a freshwater fish from rivers and lakes in South America. Weighing in at over 200 pounds and over 6 feet long, it's one of the largest freshwater fish anywhere. But that's not all. True or false? The arapaima can breathe air. Here's a clue. Sometimes the waters of the Amazon become depleted of oxygen. It's true. Like many fish, the arapaima has a swim bladder, which usually helps the fish go up and down in the water column. But in the arapaima, the swim bladder allows it to take in oxygen by breathing air at the surface. In fact, the arapaima has gotten so good at breathing air and hanging out at the surface that this fish will sometimes jump up on land to snag a meal. But if I were a river dweller, I'd be more scared of this fish, the piranha. It's a ferocious predator and a man-eater. Or is it? True or false? A pack of piranhas can devour a large animal in minutes. Here's a clue. The movies are great at exaggeration. It's false. Of the 25 species of piranhas, only a few eat meat. In fact, the whole idea that piranhas hunt in packs has been challenged recently. Scientists think piranhas may hang together in groups to avoid being eaten themselves, not to hunt others. And they have some pretty tough predators, like the caiman and the arapaima. But that doesn't mean they don't go on a feeding frenzy if food happens by. Their reputation as vicious predators is due in part to Teddy Roosevelt's visit to the Amazon in 1913. Local fishermen had blocked off a section of the river, starving the piranhas there for several days. When Roosevelt came by, they threw a cow into the river, and the piranhas devoured it. He later published a book about his trip, describing the incident. Although most piranhas are actually scavengers, some do prefer live prey. There are stories of piranhas attacking capybaras and even incidents of humans being killed by piranhas. So although such an incident is exceedingly rare, maybe swimming in the Amazon isn't such a good idea after all. The world's biggest fish live in the ocean, and the whale shark is the king of them all. It's the largest cartilaginous fish, meaning that its enormous skeleton, like all sharks, is made of cartilage. The ocean sunfish is the world's biggest bony fish, and specimens like this one, caught in 1910, can weigh up to 3,500 pounds. Fish this big can't possibly live in rivers, or can they? Which river fish can grow as big as the ocean sunfish? The catfish or the sturgeon? Need a clue? One species of catfish that lives in rivers in Thailand can grow over 7 feet long and weigh 650 pounds. Big fish. But not compared to a beluga sturgeon, which can grow to almost 20 feet long and weigh up to 3,000 pounds. As much as an Asian elephant. All sturgeons are covered with bony plates called scutes, which make their bodies feel more like armor. In some rivers in the southern United States, boaters have been injured when sturgeon have suddenly leapt out of the water and crashed into them. Now it's time for our last mystery animal. This animal can be found in rivers and lakes in North and Central America. It has a lifespan on average of 15 to 20 years. Females lay around 30,000 eggs at a time, and the eggs are toxic, so you wouldn't want to eat them. It's another tough one, so here's the whole animal. Any idea what this is called? We'll have the answer when we return to Zoo Clues. We're back. Did you guess our mystery animal? This is the long-nosed gar. Still a mystery? Well, it's a freshwater fish, and it's ancient, with a fossil record that goes back 100 million years. Yes, gars used to hang out with dinosaurs. More recently, this fish was a food staple for North American Indians and early settlers. Although it has a reputation for tasting pretty bad. Who knows? Maybe gar was served at the first Thanksgiving. Now it's time for Animal Oddities, where we bring you the most unique, strange, and amazing animals from all around the world. This animal oddity is the African lion. Wait, what? What's so odd about a lion? We don't normally think of lions as river animals. Unlike their felid cousin, the tiger, lions aren't natural swimmers. But in the Okavango Delta in Africa, the lions have adapted to an aquatic lifestyle. The Okavango River doesn't drain into an ocean. It drains into a floodplain that changes seasonally. The lions here are faced with some unique challenges. For one, most lions don't swim. But the lions in this region have become excellent swimmers in order to quickly find and hunt prey that are attracted to the abundance of water. And this has led to some more oddities. In a nearby region, these large lions learn to hunt elephants, a prey animal usually avoided. The lions here formed a super pride of over 30 lions that would coordinate an attack to take down the giant pachyderms. Recently, however, the river changed course, and the smaller prey have come back to the area. The super prides split up and now hunt in smaller groups. A few groups of lions were separated from the mainland, along with a herd of African buffalo. Buffalo are considered the most dangerous animal in Africa, but these athletic lions have adapted to hunting this dangerous prey. Now here's one more animal oddity. The leechwee is an African antelope, but one that is adapted to river, marsh, and delta living rather than the savanna, like most antelope. They live in large herds where water is abundant, like the Okavango Delta. On first glance, leechwee don't look all that different from your run-of-the-mill antelope, like a springbok or a Thompson's gazelle. But upon closer inspection, you might notice that the leechwee's rump is bigger, its hind legs a little longer, and its hooves elongated. They can jump higher and move faster than an ordinary antelope. When a herd of leechwees scatters in all directions, they can confuse and disorient a pride of hunting lions. And as for food for the leechwee, they eat aquatic plants rather than savanna grasses like other antelope. But why? It's likely that they moved into the rivers and deltas to take advantage of those aquatic plants that no one else was eating. See? Oddities can be advantageous. That's it for Life on the River. We'll be back next week with some more mysterious animal questions and their fascinating answers on Zoo Clues. See you then!
Mm-hmm.